again for joining Proud of It podcast. We're going to be speaking today about how the American society has become a nightmare to its citizens and how it is craving the destruction of its citizens, how it's become a place of nightmares for its citizens, and that we are in the beginning stages of an American nightmare. And many of you out there have already had plenty of nightmares within the borders of this country, within the borders of your states, within the borders of your counties, and how they have become hellish places to live, how your city councilmen and women have totally caused your family to become a place of nightmares, where they try to take away your land, your guns, your freedoms, and anything else. And where the churches perpetuate silence throughout your communities on how they are impoverishing more and more citizens within the communities that which you live. And we all ask ourselves, what's happening to America? Well, America that we've all known has changed. And if you've listened to any of my podcasts, you will know that I've already spoken on this topic before. They have changed. They're no longer places of passion, love, and understanding, but a place of degradation, a place of where they harbor many evil, nightmarish people within your communities to silence those who speak out. There is no longer a society of people who want love, who want children to grow up in good homes. They want everyone to be a part of this nightmare called America now, where we can no longer trust our pastors, we can no longer trust our local officials, we can no longer trust our governments within our small towns, for they are all harboring evil amongst them. They are all allowing all kinds of nightmarish people that rape, kill, sell drugs to your children, to your community. They continue to allow. They are no longer listening, as my other podcast, if you want to listen to that one as well. They are no longer listening. Your local governments, your big government definitely was never listening. Now your small governments are no longer listening, and your communities are being ravaged by this prevalent nightmare that has come through your radio. It's coming through your TV screens. The nightmare is coming through your computers. It's coming through your phones. It's coming through everything that it can possibly come through. And it is reaching your children. Your children are starting to understand sex at 6 years old. Your children are starting to understand how to become a lesbian at 5 years old. Your children are starting to understand how to become, if they're a girl, they're becoming a boy, which you can't become a boy, but that's what they want to become. These are the things, the nightmare that is coming through every town near you. It is the greatest horror flick the world has ever seen. They're allowing the most filthiest of music across the airwaves to reach your children's ears. The women in this country have been totally destroyed. They're destroyed. They're totally vanished. Women have totally vanished from society. You no longer see women in society. You see whores. You see pretty much pedophiles. You see pretty much every sickness within society that is a nightmare to society. And we are allowing our children to be infiltrated by this nightmare. No longer can you trust your neighbors. Your neighbors are no longer trustworthy. They no longer stand up for what is right. They no longer care about their own children, nor your children. They no longer speak out against being intolerant to all this nightmare that is going on around them. They smile, they laugh, they understand, oh, this is going to allow me to become a better predator. This is going to allow me to become a better nightmare to this society. They understand that now they can continue the perpetuation and the destruction and the nightmare that is going on. And nobody is protecting us. Nobody is speaking out except those in the darkness. Those who understand, like myself, that this generation, that this society is a total, complete nightmare, and that we have no one to call on. We have no one to speak for those who want a good nation of people, a good nation of children, a good nation that wants to work hard, wants to be independent of government, wants to be the hand that holds up another. They no longer want that now. They just want a bunch of nightmare citizens that are killing, raping. And this isn't just men. This is women. Women are raping children right now, people. Women are doing just as much evil as men. Women are hiding in plain sight and killing men. It's happening all over this nation. You know, you hardly ever hear of not the nightmarish women that are within the walls of this nation. But they're walking around free as a bird to do all the nightmarish things that they want to do. And nobody is stopping them. We have nightmarish people that we're giving millions of dollars to in sports, in all kinds of different areas of life. And they're a nightmare because now they have 7 homes. And in those 7 homes they have 10 to 12, maybe even 20 little girls that come in and out of their home every week because we have given them the money to be the most sexually organized predator system in the U.S. There is so much filth that we've gave money to that are now become our nightmare. We wonder why every day little girls across the country are being what do they call it? It's pretty much they are just taking advantage of the poor people within their communities, and they're paying them big money for the children within these communities. But these communities are being ravaged. These very poor communities are being ravaged, and nobody's there. The sheriff office are harboring predators within their own organization. Teachers are harboring the nightmarish teachers within their schools. Every part of society is being ravaged by this nightmare. And the people in the community that listen to this podcast understand what I'm telling them is truth. This isn't a lie. This isn't something to get your attention. This is something to bring about us understanding that a nightmare has begun. And since COVID, it has begun even greater now. Because most of the people that were actually fighting against all that was going on are dead now. Most of them have been killed off by COVID. And whoever wasn't killed off is now silenced. Is now silenced or too old to continue the fight. Now it is upon us, the young, that actually have grew up, because I know there is a moral society out there. I know there is a society out there that wants change within their community. I'm speaking to those that have a moral heart that wants to do right by the community, that wants to achieve greatness within their communities. And the only way to do it is to start getting rid of the filth and understanding that even though these people are paid billions and millions of dollars, and they're giving millions and millions of dollars to all these charities and all these functions, that they still are attacking young children, that they're still allowing the nightmare to come into the schools, they are just giving millions of dollars to silence those who know that all this music that's coming through the speakers is wrong, that all this that's coming through movies and all these nightmarish things that are coming through all these different types of ways of deception, that they can continue doing them without anybody saying anything. And as long as they're given money, they don't care about the real problems with our society, with the nightmares within our society. They are the nightmares within our society. And it's just beginning, y'all. It's becoming more and more and more. The darkness is getting greater and greater as the days go along. The drugs are coming more and more into your communities. The children are being touched in ways they have never been touched. Not by just pedophiles, but by music in itself, creating the nightmarish children we have now. The disrespect of their mothers, the disrespect of their fathers, the disrespect of all those that they should have respect for. But there is no longer a society that is demanding children have respect. There's no longer a society that wants children to learn. They want the children and the kids to be so dumb so that they can easily manipulate them into anything, into any sexual deviant thing that they can think of. If they want them to be a lesbian, they have them. If they want them to be gay and fuck each other in the ass, they can have it, because they've totally manipulated the minds of children. They are confusing the children right in the schools that you take them to every day. Why are you still taking your kids to these schools? Why are you still not listening to those like me who are telling you that if you continue doing these things, your children are going to be totally destroyed? They will become the nightmare that I'm speaking about. You know? And there's plenty of mothers out there who are a nightmare to their children, who doesn't dress to protect their children, but dressed in such a way as to make their daughters whores and their men a disrespect and a stench to the women out there in the communities. We are falling on deaf ears at this point, people. They barely are allowing my message out there into the world. They are barely allowing any of us to have a message to carry. But my message to you is if we do not get a grip on this, we are all going to be living an American nightmare. They are killing children, not just through abortion, but they are killing children through radio. They are killing children through movies. They are killing children through all types of ways. And if you continue to think that you can take your children to these filth movies, that you can continue allowing them to listen to filth in your homes, if you continue to think that your children will escape this nightmare, no, they will become a nightmare to you and their society. They will come and kill their parents. They will come and rape their own sisters, their own brothers. They will go and do the most harmful things to each other if we do not get a grip and understand that we have to be a voice that does not reason with this nightmare that is happening in America right now. That we don't have to be friends with these nightmarish people. That we don't have to take our children to these nightmare schools. That we don't have to do anything that will put the nightmare in their mind. That we don't have to continue to allow our children and even our adults. You know, we're living where adults are so off. I mean, these adults, they're sick. They're so sick in the mind of how they think. They no longer love their children. They no longer care about their children. Most of them that are teaching your kids right now have kids that they no longer care about. They have children of their own that they do not even teach right from wrong. They let them do whatever they want. Then they come to your school and they do the same thing to your children. Have you ever went to your teacher's home to see how their children act? See what their children do? See how their children are? I promise you, if you did, you would never let your children around them. I tell you, quit being dumb. Time to stand up. Time to be a big girl. Time to be a big boy. Put your big boy pants on. Quit worrying about your job. Quit worrying about what's going to happen. Because if you choose the love of your children, the love of your country, and the love of your God over this, God will protect you. He will provide for you. You don't need to continue. Now, if you want to live outside of God and you want to live in the nightmare and you want to have all that's happening now within businesses, within colleges, if you want to have the sexual revolution, then obviously, this podcast isn't for you. But those who want to live in a moral standard where they don't have to worry about who's teaching their kids and what they're listening to, then it's time to cut off the airways, because the airways are reaching your children more than anything right now. But I just want those of y'all to know that Proud of It Podcast stands for those who want to be morally helpful to those communities out there that are being ravaged by this American nightmare. And this is just the beginning. They're becoming more grotesque as the day goes on. There is more and more evil, nightmarish people coming your way. More and more people coming into your schools that are going to shoot up kids, that are going to do the most prevalent evil things that they can possibly do to your children to get them to submit to this nightmare. I just ask all of you out there that if you're listening to Private Podcast, please spread this message that there is people out here that have a mind that is way above what they're trying to create in many adults right now. And it starts right here at Proud of It Podcast, where we are not holding back any information on what is actually going on out there within American society, within this world, within the spiritual realm. We are touching on all bases. And that we want to reach more and more people with a message that there is hope as long as we can continue to fight, organize, and continue being motivated, not by how much money we can make off of our radio podcasts, but just by reaching those and letting those know that have the same mindset that we are going to continue until we are totally taken away from the airwaves. But I appreciate all those that will listen to this podcast. Please listen to my others. And until then, always come back, because I will be bringing more and more as we go along. Thank you. Have a great one.